Honest reactions, just reading the Bible for the first time, and I am going to be reading Genesis 47 today. Basically, Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Oh, that's going to be interesting here. But previously, Jacob, Joseph's father, finally made it to Egypt because he learned about Joseph. His son was alive, and Joseph has been ruling Egypt and, kind of helping everybody. A lot has happened. I can't truly imagine what that would be like in person. For anyone who's actually lost, a son or a daughter, that would be something I'm sure you can understand by reading through Joseph's story and Jacob's emotions of reuniting with his son. I can't personally, I cannot personally even imagine what that would be like. But let's get into it here. Genesis 47. Jacob blesses Pharaoh. So Jacob's the father, and he did stop on his way to Egypt, and what was it here? They stopped, and during the night, God said, "Hey, you know what? You are going to die in Egypt after you reunite with your son Joseph." So let's see what Jacob blesses Pharaoh, how this goes. And the Pharaoh was surprisingly accepting of bringing everyone there. But Joseph did tell them that they all have to be servants. They do have to tell the Pharaoh, "Hey, we are going to be your servants." So we'll kind of see how that goes, how that plays out. All right, Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, "My father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with their flocks and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen." My mic on? Yeah, okay, it is. Just making sure. Yeah, totally unrehearsed, everything. I just go with it and see what happens. Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" Joseph did tell Jacob and his brothers, "Hey, when you get there, the Pharaoh is going to ask you, what's your occupation?" And you have to tell them that you are, herdsmen, and you must tell them you are your servants have raised livestock, and we are, as your ancestors have always done. You tell them the region. So yeah, they have to be, they raise livestock, they do things because the Egyptians do not like shepherds or the Hebrew. So that was something I've learned along the way here. All right. Okay, starting again here. Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" They replied, "We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live here in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flocks in Canaan. The famine is very severe there. So please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Now that your father and brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too." Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. "How old are you?" Pharaoh asked. Jacob replied, "I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Joseph assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of Ramesses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there, just as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children. Joseph's leadership in the famine. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money is gone," they cried. "But please give us food or we'll die before our very eyes." We got bugs out here at the ocean. So that's interesting. So all the grain is gone. All the money has now been put into the Pharaoh's treasury because it has been used up to purchase grain. Got some economic we got a little, how do we put that here? The economics are not adding up. They had a plan for 7 years and now it's all gone, as well as the money is all gone. So I wonder how that works out. Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food. In exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkeys, Joseph provided them with food for another year. By that year end, and the next year they came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all of our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so that we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." Oh, wow. So the people have nothing. Plain and simple. The people have nothing. The Pharaoh has all the money. Joseph has essentially used all their livestock in trade for the grain. And now the people, they have nothing. I mean, Joseph clearly still has grain and he's setting it aside, but he's been selling it as essentially this is a massive business that he's got going on here, making sure that the Pharaoh stays in power and is strong. But now the people are dependent on this. And that's usually not a good thing, because if the people are that dependent and they're willing to then become slaves, people tend to rise up, but they also have to have the strength too. So, okay, let's see where we're going to go here. A lot of bugs out here. But that year, let's start here again. But that year ended, and the next year came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord." I might have to wait for that helicopter, because that's kind of loud. Meantime, I'm like the only person that's out here on the ocean, and the helicopter decided, oh yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna circle right above you. All right, let's get back to it. Okay. Let's start this part again here. Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your..." Oh, no, not that part again. All right, so let's start this again. But that year ended, and the next year they came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all of our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and desolate." That's a lot for people to finally be at that point where you are willing to be a slave just so that you can live. So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priests. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. The Pharaoh is favoring the priests. Interesting. Then I say that because it makes me wonder, you know, there's a lot of things that we see in history where people rise up against the priests. And now you also have the Pharaoh here in Egypt where he's favoring them above the people themselves. And it's hard to think about that. It's a thought. Then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so that you can plant the fields, and then you harvest it. 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields, and as food for you, your households, and your little ones." Joseph is always trying to do good by the people, it seems, but also this is a business. So, "You have saved our lives," they exclaimed. "May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants." Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt, that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen in Egypt. There they acquired property, and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt. So he lived 147 years in all. Pretty good life there, 147 years old. As the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do me this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request." We got the hand under the thigh again. I remember that from a previous chapter, and I really don't understand why the hand under the thigh. What does that signifies something? I don't really know what. Maybe somebody can tell me. Do not bury me. Oh, wait. Please do me this favor and do not treat me and swear you by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors. So Joseph promised, "I will do as you ask." "Swear that you will do it," Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. Wait. Swear that you will do it. Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. So Jacob, the father, bowed humbly to his son, Joseph? Is that what I'm understanding here at the very end?